Hi, my name is McKenna Kirchhoff, and welcome back to the Engler Journey podcast. I am your host of the Fire in the Belly section, where we get to talk with really amazing students that are a part of the Engler program. Today, I am here with Ben Schow, and we've gotten to be in Engler together for our entire 4 years of college. So we were actually in 101 together.
In Miller Hall.
In Miller Hall, yes. So, welcome to the show. This is going to be so much fun. So, a question that I know many people are always dying to ask you. What's the barn?
Yeah. Oh my, I've had to answer that question numerous times through my my time here on campus. And so, the barn is... I don't even know where to start now. I say I've answered it so many times, but no, the barn goes back to my sophomore year of high school, and I'm from Paxton originally, Nebraska, and lived on a small farm and ranch growing up, and we've always had this barn, this really old brick barn with a hayloft that was always empty, and I went up there one day and just kind of was looking around. It's probably the size of this room, maybe a little smaller. And I said, this would be a cool place for, getting my buddies up here and hanging out. And it's kind of just a hangout spot, really, to start. And that's what I kind of did. With the help of my mom, we cleaned it out. We swept out all the old hay. And for my shop class in high school, I built a tabletop that was basically the first bar that was in there. And my brother-in-law built a bar for my dad, actually, and so I took that from my parents and put it up there too, and hung up some old Christmas lights, and that kind of started, that was the barn to start with. And my buddies and I, there was about 8 of us that we'd go up there about every weekend in high school, and it eventually turned into, bigger parties with kids from around the whole area of Oglaw there, and even North Platte, and that it just... The barn kind of had its own reputation through my peers in high school, and now even in college, the parties have gotten bigger, and I don't throw as many, of course, as I did, but that's essentially the barn. I hope I've answered it good enough.
Yeah,
but
I think so.
It's transformed a little bit, and it's had its growth, I guess, but yeah, I mean, it's not a real business. I want people to know it's not a real event center or anything, but I think as we'll get into the podcast, that's what kind of started my interest into the event side of things. So,
Interesting. So, while the barn isn't an event center, it is a very recognized brand here on East Campus. But even all over Lincoln, I've run into people with barn hats often, like a lot. In Shields, like obviously here, but what has that been like? You've developed this brand recognition, but it wasn't ever the goal. So how do you think that happened?
Yeah, so originally I made these hats kind of as just a joke. I just thought, it'd be cool for all my buddies. The original 8 of us is what I like to call it. And I thought, I'll make some hats. And the A on the hat, for those of you who've probably noticed, is a little different. It's the brand that we use for our cattle back home. And I just thought, that would look cool on the hat, kind of make it an actual logo and give it some uniqueness to it. And so I made some hats originally, and I gave them out to all my buddies, and we started wearing them around Paxton. And, then people were like, well, what's the barn? I don't know what that is. You guys all wearing these hats all around. And we were like, trying to stay out of trouble as much as we could. So we're like, oh, it's just, this place. And we didn't even really have a good answer for it for everybody who asked us around the town, because word gets around, and eventually it did. Everyone kind of started knowing what the barn was, and so then towards my senior year, I kind of started making more hats and got them around town, and then I came to Lincoln. Then it kind of exploded a little bit, being in the AGS fraternity, and that's where it kind of really had its spurt of growth. Everybody loved the story of the barn, and everybody kind of wanted a hat, and so I kept making them online. I'd have them shipped here, and then I'd, sell them for $20 a pop, and so I guess it's been more of a steady side hustle, I suppose. But No, it is nice to see people wearing them around campus and stuff. And I have a lot of other stories I've told people of what the barn is, and it's my bar from back home, and I'm in college now, and somebody else is running my bar for me back home, and there's people who believe it, and it's so funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely gotten a lot of recognition, and it's well known, which is always fun, and I love telling the story, and apparently people love hearing about it. So.
Right. So what's the funniest story of you maybe running into someone with a barn hat, or like someone like knows about it, but they don't know maybe who you are?
Right.
Do you have any funny stories just off the top of your head?
So for any of you listening who have ever seen my pickup, it's got the barn license plates that says the barn on it, and then it's got a big sticker in the back window. And so probably one of the funniest stories I have, I guess, or one of them is I have a membership at one of the car washes here in town, and I was pulling up to it one day, and to see your pickup, they have a license plate reader, and I would go up to the window, and there's this gal in there, and she opens the window, and she goes, "How's it going?" And "No, good." And "What's the bar?" And I see that's on your license plate, and you have a hat on. And I was like, "Oh, that's where I said, oh, it's my bar." And she goes, "Oh, where's that at?" And I said, "Oh, Paxton, Nebraska, about 4 hours west of here." And she goes, "Well, why do you have a membership at the car wash in Lincoln if you own a bar in Paxton?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to school too." And she goes, "You're going to school and you own a bar?" I said, "Yep, that's right." And she was like, "You got to be kidding me." And so then the funniest part of that is my other buddy, one of the original 8 from back home, who's going to school with me, went that same day to the car wash with his pickup. And he goes up to the window, same gal opens her window, and, "Hey, how's it going?" And then she looks up at his hat, and he was telling me a story. He goes, "This lady just had the most confused look on her face." And Bennett, and my buddy, I just dropped his name, but he goes, "What are you looking at?" And she's like, "You have a barn hat. Is that the same thing as like the barn like west of here?" And he goes, "Yeah." And she's like, "Is that really a bar?" And he goes, "Yep, absolutely." And I'd never even told him about it yet. And so that was the funniest part. So that lady was just astonished at something that wasn't real. But
right.
That's always a good story I like to tell people. So
that's so funny. But it's fun, and you guys get to all play around with it. And
oh yeah,
and it's your place from back home, and you all love that. So I think it's just fun. It's just funny, and I've even pointed it out before at people, and they're like, "How do you know what it is?" And maybe that was when I was a little bit younger, when it was just starting to get known.
Yeah.
But, it's a funny thing that's just kind of happened. So I think it's really interesting just having a brand that you didn't really you haven't maybe made a business around it, but you have this brand recognition. So in the future, what are your ideas, and kind of where is your heart at with, you have this really cool brand, but what would you like to see happen?
Well, it's funny. So throughout my journey here at Engler, I've really explored, going down the route of having an event center, because that was the one thing I always loved about the barn. I loved having the environment for people to come and just, forget about their working lives and their worries, and they just came to the barn to have fun. They didn't have to worry about, well, in our case it was school or even sports or something. We all came to we were just there around each other, talking, having a good time, playing cards or doing whatever. And I loved just seeing the looks on my friends' faces and being like, man, like they're not worried about anything right now, and it's because I made this place to have them come and relax. And so throughout a few summers here, while being in college, I've interned for Nebraska Land Days out west. It's a big country music festival. And the director himself told me, he said, that's why I got into this business, was because the day of, it's a whole year of planning, but those 2 days where we get to have those concerts and everyone shows up, 13,000 people show up, and you get to see all their smiling faces when you go up on that stage before we announce the openers. And he said, that right there is worth it for me. And I'm just like, I think I've had that feeling too, just on a much smaller scale. And so, it's always just fun being able to be the host. And so, that's why I loved it. And so As for the future, I'm not sure. I think I have to, one of the classes I took here for Engler was a 388 class, of course, and that's where I really experimented to see, could the barn really be a feasible option to consider after college. And so I kind of had a plan. I was going to bring the barn to Lincoln was the plan. And so I had this whole deal. I was going to build a brand new facility right by the 27th Street and I-80 exit to the north there, because it was just a bunch of farmland. And so it was going to end up costing me about $6 or $8 million. And Dave Lamb told me, he goes, "That's not very feasible, Ben." I said, "Yeah, you're right, Dave." So
maybe.
So maybe in the future, I think I'd still love to either, invest into something like that. I've also worked at the Bourbon down here in Lincoln on O Street, and that's been a ton of fun, learning their management strategies and how they, deal with everything from planning to the people the customers that show up and handling all that stuff. And I just think it's just super fun. But I also have a lot of other interests too. And so I think I'm going to chase more of those before I really, if I ever get to chase this dream of event center type stuff. So yeah.
It is, it's owning a facility like that is a large investment, and it's a lot of time that takes to put into something like that, and there's a lot of learning to do there's a lot of preparation to be able to take that step.
Absolutely.
Which is hard because there's a lot of kids in Engler that have these amazing ideas, and it's something that you just have to grind towards, and there's a lot of steps to get to that. I don't want to say pinnacle, because I think the finish line keeps moving as you keep acquiring more and more steps that you've taken. But I think it's awesome to know that, what are some of the things that you've gotten to do? Obviously, you talked about some of the places you've worked, but you also have worked at Barry's for a long time. And you've talked to me about the way that you probably look weird looking up at the ceiling and paying attention to all the details.
It is funny, and I do work at Barry's downtown. I don't know if this is a shout out for them or not, but I've loved it. That was kind of more the point. I thought I should work there because learning about the bars, because with every event center, most of them have bars to them, and I think that's almost half of the work is, the sales of a bar and trying to get all that figured out too. And so yeah, I went to work at Barry's, and I really liked learning their management strategies. The owner's a great guy. Let me look into a lot of their stuff, and really just how they operate. And I took that. I took a lot of those experiences back to my other internships with me and tried to implement those there. And so, yeah, I'm super grateful to have that. But it is funny when my friends all go out with me, when I'm not working at Barry's, or if we go to some other bars here in Lincoln, I'll just be, they'll nudge me and they'll be like, "Dude, what are you doing? You're not being social." Well, I'll be up looking kind of at the ceiling, how the place is structured. I'll be up at the bar, not even one to order a drink. I'll just see what the bartenders are doing, how they operate, how they're pouring drinks, or are they pouring too much? They pouring too little? How's the bar set up? Is the cooler in the right place? And it's just
supervising.
It's basically, I'm being a supervisor for no reason, really. But yeah, my friends, it's funny that my friends have all noticed that. So it's just, I think it's just that entrepreneurial mind and trying to just always be looking for ways to make something better, I guess, is how an entrepreneur works, in my opinion. But I guess I need to not be thinking about work type stuff so much, and just kind of enjoy it.
Present.
Right, being more present. Yeah.
But you love it, and I think that's okay that it shows when you're out, even just having fun with your friends.
Yep.
I mean, it shows that you really do care and appreciate those types of things.
Exactly.
So what brought you to Engler in the first place? Because you had this thing back home, but that obviously wasn't in your head as you were coming to Lincoln.
Absolutely. So, like I said, I grew up in Paxton. All K through 12, went there. Little town of 600 people, and man, I wouldn't trade growing up in a small town for anything. And I think that's a lot of other Engler kids had that same background, which I think we'd all say the same about it. It's great growing up in a small community where it's hardworking people, they're honest, and they're everybody helps everybody and everybody knows everybody, and it's just a great community to grow up in. And so, I guess I'll talk more about that as I keep going. But my family, I come from a long line of entrepreneurs, and my grandfather in the 60s started his own auctioneering business selling farm equipment, real estate, household items. And so that business is still here today back home. My dad's in charge of it along with my grandmother and my uncle and my other extended family. So that's what I grew up with. Learned a lot about business through my dad and my grandparents mainly, and that was great. Leaving high school, I was like, I think I'd love to come back and maybe take this over. And since being in college, I've gone back and forth a lot through that. But yeah, my original plan was Wyoming, and I was going to be a cowboy out there. And then my mom, who works for corporate America, she met Dave Lamb actually at some conference. I don't remember, but she said, "Hey, I talked to this guy that's, they're kind of a part of a new entrepreneurship college at university in Lincoln." And I said, "Oh yeah, I guess so. I'll go visit." I wasn't even going to visit Lincoln until she said that, and so I said, "Yeah, I'll come and visit." And so I came and spoke to Dave in Miller Hall, and him and I said, I come from this background of a family business, and he goes, "Oh, this is the place for you." And I even told him, I said, I don't think I really want to. I don't really know if I want to come back to the family business, but I definitely want to be an entrepreneur and do something for myself and really help people. And he said, "Yeah, you need to be here." So I was like, man, I was dead set on going to Wyoming, and up until my senior year, after that, the summer after senior year, I was going. And so then I finally talked to my parents, and I said, I think I got to try out this entrepreneurship program in Lincoln. And it was easier too because a lot of my friends were coming down, so that was always nice.
And now the barn's famous.
Oh, geez, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so, but like I said, I wouldn't trade this journey, for anything. And I kind of like to think that I'm one of the more, I guess, unique English students because, I did grow up with a business, a family business. You could call me an entrepreneur, I guess, but I don't see selling these barn hats as a real business compared to what some of the businesses that have grown out of this program, which are just been fantastic to see. Even my closest friends have built some of the coolest businesses. So I say I'm unique in the fact that I didn't really come into Engler with a business.
Right.
And a lot of kids that I talk to who are thinking about joining are saying, well, I don't think I belong in Engler because I don't have a business either. And I'm like, you don't need to have a business in Engler. Right. That's the beauty of it. There's so much that you can just take out of this program that's just general life advice. I memean, and it's great. Whether you do, 101 or 275 or, any of the modules that we offer here, it's just, I think I've taken most of the modules, and it's just been incredible. It's been the most curriculum that I could take out of my experience here at Lincoln. Yeah. Just being in college in general. I mean, we're such a unique curriculum here that, man, it's just everything that I've retained through college. I think the most of it will be through this program. So that's been great. And so obviously I'm not leaving the program with a business technically either. Right. And so I just hope I can be an example for those people who think that I can't join because I don't have a business. Well, that's not true at all.
Right. And it's so much more about our community. And yes, we have amazing businesses that come from this program, and it's so fun to watch them grow. And it's also fun to know that there are so many more businesses that will happen continually after graduation because of the support of the community and the things you've learned. So what is something, if you had to give a little nugget of advice to incoming students, what would you say to them that you've learned through the program or just that would encourage them to be a part of this community? Yeah,
I think I'll go back again. So one thing that was a big shock for me when I first came to Lincoln, coming to from a town of 600 people to a town of 200,000, for a small town kid where that back home is your entire world growing up, coming to Lincoln was just like, for the first 3 months I was here, I hated it. Absolutely hated Lincoln. It was a big city. I'm not a big city kid, and I just resented it so much. And I'd have phone calls with my parents. I'd just say, I want to come back home. I don't want to be here anymore. And, thank God that they convinced me to stay, tough it out for just a little bit longer. And, I'm so glad that I did. And the community, the thing that got me to open up and just, embrace the change was ultimately this program when I really started getting heavily involved. Wow, it's East Camp. I think we're very fortunate at the university here to have East Campus because to me, Engler itself was my little hometown, I guess you could say. I found my community of people who think like I do. We want to solve problems and we want to do these big things and start our own ventures and stuff like that. And so whenever I'm talking to students from small towns who are thinking about just coming to Nebraska, I just say you're coming to the university here. I say you've got to join this program because
right.
it is the same people as you, the same background, the same experiences, and the same goals for the future, basically. And so yeah, some advice I would give some incoming students that maybe have the same background as myself is something that I always try to tell these kids who are thinking about just coming to the university here, but they're kind of on the fence. I'm just like, if you're scared of trying to find your group of people or just anything like that, I'm just like, check out the Engler program and see what they have to offer. And the group of people that you're going to find here are small town kids with those types of values. They're problem solvers. They have, they have some high achieving goals for the future that they're more than likely going to hit with the help of this program. I mean, it's amazing. And so, like I was saying, I think, I found my group here. I mean, this is, I'm in here hours every single day, and I'd never get enough of this place because the atmosphere and the culture that we've made here is nothing that I could have ever imagined being in college. I think if I would have went to Wyoming, I don't even know if I'd still be in school, honestly. This program has just set such a high bar, for education. I just want everybody to experience it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's super cool. So, how would you encourage, you've had to learn to kind of reevaluate some of your visions for stuff because you had this expectation maybe that I'm going to go out, like I'm going to leave this program with a business or I want to have this business. I want to have something tangible. And that hasn't played out the way that maybe you in a perfect world thought it would. So what would you encourage someone going through that? What have you learned and what would you encourage them with?
Yeah. So I'll start off with a personal story. So it's funny. Yesterday, all throughout my journey here, I have had, I don't know how many different ideas or just something that I wanted to just try. I guess I'll go back even further. I think it was beginning of my senior year. My mom and I were about dead set on buying this liquor store in South Omaha and Bellevue. And, it was just going to be a business that we could just invest in. It was a good, inexpensive price, and there was a lot of room for growth, and we were going to kind of flip it around and really make it a good, successful place. And we had kind of a business plan mapped out, and, we didn't end up going through with it because I didn't want to risk my senior year. Omaha's an hour away. My mom lives in Omaha, but she couldn't just leave her corporate job to just go down to the store if anything went wrong. She can't just up and leave, and I can't be an hour away and just leave and if something goes wrong. And so that was an issue there. So we decided not to do it, and that was a bummer, because I was like, man, we're finally going to get a business. I'm finally going to get my hands dirty, and that's just all I wanted to do. I just wanted something tangible that I could just really work on and call it my own, because it just means that much to me to have that. And just this last weekend, I've been trying to get more into real estate and kind of either the rental side or flipping houses. And my partner and I had a property locked down here in Lincoln that we were going to get. And, we were working with a realtor. We had all our ducks in a row. We had the investment lined up. We had a check ready to pay for this house, and we didn't get it. There was about 7 other offers, and it was one of them cash offer deals. And we just got kicked out by the big guys, and so it sucks. I mean, any type of failure sucks. But you can't look at it as permanent. It's all failure in my opinion is temporary. There's a quote by Conor McGregor. I never fail. I either win or I learn, and that's just I think I heard that my freshman year going through the Engler 101, and that's in a frame on my desk, here in Engler, and I look at it every day, and just despite all the adversity that you might be going through, you just gotta, grit your teeth, and which is also my favorite pillar here in Engler of the 6 is grit. So yeah, that's my advice is just always, learn from your mistakes, which is you'll get. For those of you who are in Engler, you'll already know you get that is like impact. I don't know how to say it. It is drilled into your brain that don't fear failure, and if you have a failure, get over it, learn from it, and move on. And that's what I would say. Along with say yes to new opportunities. I mean, opportunities pop up everywhere. You just have to be open-minded enough, and you can't be too proud to take a hold of an opportunity and say, I'm too good for that. Well, you need to look at it like, what can I learn from this? Even if it's not the prettiest job or, something like that. But I've kind of been rambling a little bit here.
You're good.
Yeah. Just say it. Don't embrace failure and say yes to new opportunities, and just, jump off the cliff and build the plane on the way down.
Yeah. I think that's awesome. So you briefly mentioned your mom was going to be a part of, buying this liquor store. You were going to do this together. Mm-hmm. How has she been a part of your entrepreneurial journey, but also just being in college? What has she provided for you? Well,
for one, she got me into this program, basically. She's the one that heard about it first, and I told that story. But, despite being in corporate America all her life, my mom is the most entrepreneurially minded person that I know. She's kind of that person that's very opposite of being risk averse. I don't know what that term would be, but she is all, if I ever talk to her about a new idea or I've got this great opportunity, Mom, what should I do with it? She goes, just do it. Just jump off and just do it. And sometimes I think she doesn't think of all the risks that are involved, but that's the beauty of it, because I have the other side sometimes of being very risk averse and thinking about all the things that could go wrong. But she's so positively minded that she's just like, damn it, buddy, like just go for it. Her favorite quote, or she always used to tell me this before I'd go to bed every night. She'd say, stay positive, look on the bright side. No, think positive, look on the bright side, stay optimistic. That is what she said to me every single night before I went to bed. And I say that every day to myself, and I don't even think she knows that. But I do. I think that all the time. And so she's the, her and I, sometimes we butt heads about ideas and stuff. But man, she's taught me tough love too. She's given me plenty of it. But she's always just like, suck it up, take responsibility, and just go and freaking do it. Don't make excuses. And so that is what my mom has drilled into my brain, is that just, quit thinking and just take action.
Yeah.
And so that's what I give her all the credit for that. And so,
she's pretty awesome.
She is. She's awesome. I hope someday we really get to be involved in some business together. So
that's so cool.
I'm sure it will. It'll be great.
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I asked about that. That makes me so happy.
Yeah.
So final question for you is our last one that we always end with. What has given you a fire in the belly, or what fuels that fire that's in your belly?
Yeah. Wow, that's a good question. I don't know if we rehearsed this or not.
We don't rehearse anything, Ben.
Yeah. So, I don't know what age I figured this out or just even first started thinking about it, but Tom will even talk about it in 101 sometimes. don't let potential be written on your gravestone. Don't come to the end of your life and, I guess here's another way to put it. Right now, somebody is laying on their deathbed, and this might be a little dark. Somebody's laying on their deathbed right now, looking up and begging God for another chance to get up and to live again. And, they look on their life and they're like, man, I wish I would have done something more risky. I wish I would have done something for myself. And I think I honestly fear that more than anything. I do not want to go through life with mediocrity. I don't want to do it. I want to take risks. I want to go broke. I want to be just the best person that I can be. And if I have to fail and hit rock bottom over and over and over again, I still think that is better than just playing it safe and coasting through life. I don't think that's a way to live. But man, there's a quote that I heard, I think just last year, and it's, I think a lot of entrepreneurs have heard of it, but I think it'll also speak to a lot of them, is our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond our measure. We are afraid of success. We are afraid of, if we're successful, we have to live up to that standard and stay there. And, people love to come and watch you fail. And that is something that scares the hell out of people, me included. I don't like to fail in front of everybody and, be thought of as, he did this stupid thing that he never should have got involved in. And, people will put that label on you, and some will even just straight up call you a failure, and it sucks. And so the fire in my belly comes back to my original point of, don't let potential be written on your gravestone. You can't be afraid of what others are going to think. What's more important, your goal or others' opinions about your goal? And just thinking about that kind of stuff, I am a quote freak. I live off of quotes. I get it from my mom. And so that ultimately is just, that's what keeps me going. It keeps me getting through all the failures and the big people making a cash offer on a house that you can really make something good with. And that was a horrible example, but that's what keeps the fire in my belly going. So I hope other people think that way, and I think a lot of the other kids in Engler do. And so that's what keeps us all going here. And so if you have that fire in your belly or something like that, and you really want to, grab life by the horns, and I encourage you to check this place out, because there's a lot of good that comes out of here, and we're game changers for sure. So
yeah,
that's my little advertisement for Engler.
I love it. No, this is so awesome. This is so fun. And I just love that you've gotten to be such a huge part of this program. Maybe you won't take ownership of that in the way that you have, but you've been able to welcome people in and
well, I hope so.
Be an awesome guy that people get to just connect with, and you've definitely been a large piece of Engler over the last 4 years. So
well, thank you.
It's been so fun to do college with you, but I think that's all. I think that's it for this week's episode. Awesome. But thank you all for listening. We will see you next week.